Did you push it?
I
Oh, you
did.
pushed it. I was going to push the button.
It didn't want to start.
Oh, what is it?
Everyone
Maybe it has not
wonders if
got Tylenol today like me.
everyone's wondering if we got kidnapped. Hey, everybody.
Kidnapped, huh?
Welcome in to this Fireside Chat with Hank and Abby. Characters.
Fireside Chat without the fire. We just have neon. Do you notice how we both have neon now? And I believe
do. And
Doug has neon.
I have a window right there, and just outside that window is fire. It's summer in the deep south, and it's 148 degrees. Not really, but the humidity is over 100%, so it makes it feel like that.
Yeah,
How is everybody? Hello, Bon. Hello, Rachel. Hello. I'm not going to attempt to name everybody. Hey, all of y'all. You know who you are. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We have a workshop on Monday, and this is so weird because Monday was a holiday for us, so we should have done this show on Monday, but then it got pushed because it was a holiday and we weren't here, so we were going to do it yesterday, but then somebody had something else going on, and so we said we'll push it one more day. So here we are on a Wednesday, which is such an odd time to have a regularly scheduled.
So nice to see you on a Wednesday. I say that like I don't see you every day anyway. Right. I have to fish out my list because now I know the Redhead Writer 23 is Steph.
Really? Hello, Steph.
Steph is here. I always want to say the Redhead Writer is my friend Leah because she always calls herself the Redheaded Leah. So I have that in my head just from years and years and years of her. So
that's so weird because I know exactly one Leah in real life, and she's also a redhead.
Go figure.
Crazy.
I'm going to slide over this way in my chair because I'm wearing my obnoxious pants today, and people may or may not want to see how obnoxious they are. I will give you a...
obnoxious.
They match my wallpaper. They're obnoxious.
Well, I'm wearing shorts, and unless you want to see my kneecaps, you know, which are both scarred from, growing up as a latchkey kid. And anyway, yeah. So we, because next Monday's workshop is about characters and making the kind of characters, and this is kind of a theme for the workshop, is not just making characters, but making the kind of characters that when you close that back cover of the book, you're obsessed. You cannot get these people out of your life, much less your mind, and like you feel like you know them. So that's one thing that we're going to talk about today is how you develop those characters that you want to be friends with. You feel like they're part of the family. You just, I feel like you have some thoughts about characters.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I told you I had a really great story.
Okay.
Okay. It's like a two-part story. So I know I've mentioned it before, but my first book coach, Jenny Nash, was telling this story once. We were talking about character, and she was like, oh my gosh. So one day I was at this dinner party, right? And I'm telling a story and everybody's listening and everybody's laughing. And I'm going on and on about a friend of mine. And she's like, oh, and I had this hilarious story about this friend of mine. And so, I'm captivating the dinner party with this story about this friend of mine who about 3/4 of the way through the story, I realized it was a character in one of my books that I was talking about. And I had not in my head differentiated that it was not a real person in my life and something that I had written that was complete fiction. She's like, it was so real to me that I found myself telling a story about them at a dinner party. And then she was too embarrassed to tell everyone at dinner that she didn't really know this person. She had made them up, which I think is hilarious. But I had something similar happen to me, only back when it was 2020 and the pandemic very first hit, right? And everybody was locked down. And, you went through that phase where like for the first couple days you're like, oh my God, I gotta call grandma so-and-so and check on them, and I gotta call this person and check on them, and you know, oh, I gotta text so-and-so, make sure they're doing okay. And so you're reaching out to all the people in your life that mean something to you. And so we're sitting at dinner, and all of a sudden I said to Sean, oh my God, I hadn't even thought to call John Thorpe and ask him how he and Bernadette are doing. Like, do you think they're okay? Do you think we need to send them something Instacart? And Sean looked at me and he's like, are you serious right now? He's like, you know, those are characters in your book, right? And I was like, oh, they are. I was like, okay, scratch that I just said that. Now I feel real dumb.
You're like, did I say that out loud?
But I think step one is if you can make the character so real to you that you, the writer, can't even tell the difference. Don't you think you've kind of hit on something great?
Yes. Yes. And while we're talking in the chat, tell me who your all-time favorite fictional character is and why they stuck with you. So put that in the chat as we talk, and we'll bring up some of your answers as we
top
talk.
10 in order, because it's my friend Allegra makes fun of me all the time because anytime someone says Inigo Montoya, I go, that's my third favorite literary character. And she's like, you're so weird. Who says that's my third favorite literary character? And I was like, well, me, I say it.
Well, because Mr. Toad outranks him, right?
He's number one. Hello?
Obviously. We all know that.
Get with it.
So what is it for you that makes a character larger than the page and makes them occupy that space in your mind? What is it? What's the thing that makes a character jump off the page for you? Because and kind of one of the initial premises of the workshop that I came up with is the books that just wreck you, become part of your life, all of that is because of a character, not because of a plot point. I postulate that you rarely remember the plot, at least the way that it's written. You might remember, oh, there was a bank robbery. Okay, but
you remember snippets of what happened.
Yes, but what you remember is how this person that affected you wove their way through that bank robbery and how the fallout from that or whatever affected them. So what is it about character that makes this person become real?
So the thing that happens, and I don't know how it happens, but when I'm going to say meet a character, like we're meeting them on the page. When I meet a character.
Look, we have determined already that on this channel, this is where we can talk about the voices in our head and there's no judgment. There's no judgment. Yeah.
Nobody's going to commit us.
Right.
When I meet a character and suddenly they grow into something more than just what happens between the covers of the book.
Yeah.
That's what I love. So for me, I mean, Mr. Toad, 100%. I am not kidding you when I say, I don't know that there's a day that goes by that I don't think about him and what I would do if Mr. Toad was with me right now. Is that really sad? That's how much I love him. But
I thought I heard your voice crack just a little bit.
I only know him as he exists in my head.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I mean, what is it for you?
It's I've been trying to think about this because right when I think I know what it is, I start thinking about it, and it's so much more than I can put my finger on. It's a character whose struggle I connect with on some weird level. But it's also how they handle that struggle, how they meet the challenges that come up or the celebrations or whatever. It's a character who would handle things better than I would or completely worse than I would. because
I want a character that would do something that I wouldn't
yes,
do, and
yes,
that is what I glom onto all the time. Like,
yeah,
I've probably told this story before about reading The Girl with the Pearl Earring.
maybe tell it again.
So I read Girl with the Pearl Earring,
Okay,
right? And I picked it up because it has to do with Jan Vermeer. And so I was
okay,
like, oh, art history and literature, totally in, right?
yeah.
So I pick it up and I read this book and I get to the end, and not to spoil it for everyone, but she does the sensible thing. Like, she goes back and she marries the butcher's son, right? And I got so flippin' angry that she did what I would have done in her situation,
Mm,
that I threw the book across the room and hit the wall with it, because I'm like, that's not why I read a book. I read a book so I could experience something that I would not do in real life. And I felt cheated. It was all I could do not to send Tracy Chevalier or whatever an email and say, I'm sorry, you owe me a new ending.
you right, right, and $10, but that's
Yeah.
beside the point. Yeah. I sometimes I because I was thinking, well, it's because of this, but it's not always because of that. It's sometimes I feel aspirational. I want a character to do something, like you said, that I wouldn't or couldn't do, or at least I don't think that I could do. And it makes me want to set the bar higher to try to be more, act more, whatever the thing is. Like it's an aspirational thing. I'm not this person, but I would like to be.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of gives me maybe not a roadmap, but at least in some fictional way, it gives me the idea that it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I love. I love and some of the chats talking about a great redemption arc, and that, I love seeing someone that's just a wreck, but figures out how to pick the pieces up and do something better. I'm a sucker for those kind of stories. But I'm also kind of a sucker for like a dark twist where someone just comes unraveled. And
Mm-hmm.
and I also like to think that hopefully I'm not that person, and that can't just drive right into the ditch, so to speak. But I kind of like to watch it sometimes, I kind of I want to see what would happen if I completely let go. And some of those characters stay with me just as much as the aspirational ones.
Well, they say that reading a book is the closest you'll ever get to being in someone else's head.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, getting to live, I mean, and it kind of all connects. You want to be that person. I want that person to do the thing that I wouldn't choose to do in life, or make a
Right.
decision that I wouldn't choose to make. And I want them to get into some sort of trouble so I can see how they get out of it too.
Yeah.
But I love a good selfish character
Yeah.
too, like really selfish character. And I love a character that you think is going to change and then goes right back to the way they were at the beginning. I absolutely love that, which is probably weird too. So I will admit to that. But
Here's a question for you. And this, I didn't plan this. It just kind of popped in my head. Do you like characters, or have you ever written characters um, that are kind of cardboard archetypical character? For instance, in my book Crossroad Blues, it was about a guy who made a deal with the devil, sold his soul to the devil, but then later in life decides he wants it back, and he's trying to undo the thing that he did. So you've got this character that is aspirational, if you will. You've got Buddy Deadweiler, who made a deal with the devil but wants to undo it. But then you've got the character, the Man in Black, who basically is the devil. I mean, he kind of serves that. We don't really dig into who he is a whole lot. He's just that the guy, but he is 100% cookie cutter, like evil, like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. There's no good reason for him to be evil. He's just evil. And I don't write that kind of character very often. I like people that have more nuance. You know, there's a little more gray to it. There's evil, but there's a reason for evil. And then if there's a reason for evil, then maybe there's some way back to redemption. You know, so I always kind of like to hold that idea in my head.
But for this story, was the fact that he didn't have a way back to redemption like the opposite of the man who was trying to get back to redemption? Like, did he serve a purpose to be that flat evil?
Yeah. He was the evil that you avoid, that kids are scared of in the dark. There's no dismantling it to find the glimmer of hope, in that soul somewhere. Just evil, just plain evil, and no explanation and no, but that's what that story needed. It didn't need another character that could be unwoven, and it just needed evil. And sometimes in life there's just evil, and it just is. And so I don't know. How do you think about that? Do you think in terms of like big archetypes, or
I wrote one villain character once that was just she was a pretty flat villain. Now again, we're talking middle grade. It was younger, middle grade. I didn't feel like she needed a reason. She was the principal at a boarding school, right? So I just felt like it was kind of like Mrs. Trunkbull. You just she's just evil. She's the principal. Leave it at that.
Right.
Sort of thing. Now I can say my editor did come back to me and say, we need to have a little bit of a reason as to why she is like this. I did develop a little bit of a backstory for her, not much, but once I wove it in, it actually did make my particular story a little stronger, because it was just like adding a little more salt to the dish, it just needed a sprinkle of something. And as it turns out, that was the sprinkle of something, which, I mean, it kind of goes like Brooke is asking this question, like, how much depth are you supposed to add to secondary and tertiary characters?
Well, I mean, depends on what role they play. Yeah, does their level of evil or goodness or what, does it matter to the story? Because your secondary and your tertiary characters are there to hold up your protagonist in some sense, or to provide tension, or they're there for the scaffolding for the story. So
if their backstory opens up a new side quest that has nothing to do with the story that you're telling, you probably don't need it. Yeah. And if their backstory leaves an unanswered question that the reader is ultimately in the end going to feel dissatisfied when they close the book, because there was this loose thread hanging that's not going to show up in like book 2 or book 3 or book 4, you're kind of leaving the reader dissatisfied. And there's an art to that. There's not a science to that. There's just kind of an art to that. And so, which Brooke says, my ADHD loves side quests. I'm going to remember that for first novel problems, Brooke. And I'm going to say, stay in your lane.
And since you have to write 314 books, that's side quests are more spin-off stories that you can write.
That's right. That's just that's the 315th book.
Yeah, right. When you get to 316, you're going to need these side characters and quests.
Yeah, it's like Shannon is spelling what we're stepping in. You can always save their backstory for a side quest in the form of a novella.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So here's another question. Have you ever read a book where everything was technically in place? Plotting, pacing, prose, all of that. And you're like, oh, I crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. But your character just made no impression. Like, okay, it was a good story. Like it it went from point A to B to C, and we wound up in place. The plot resolved, all the things, and none of the characters in that book were anyone you would invite to Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah, but I can't remember the names of those books. Right?
Precisely, because they made no impression.
They made no impression whatsoever.
Yeah. No. So what is the thing that makes a character go from technically correct to member of the family? For me, it is a lot of times it's a very real, and I hate to borrow this terminology because I don't use it. There's a very real hurt or something standing in their way, and that connects not only them deeply, but them to me. And I feel like I can commiserate with them. Now their journey may be very different from mine or whatever, but that initial obstacle, that initial problem is something that I can relate to. And then it's fun to see, do they resolve this the way I would? Do they take a different path? Is it a complete train wreck? That's kind of a good starting place for me. That's not all there is to it, but that's some way to emotionally connect with a character is a good place to start.
So I kind of smile because I'm like, I know we read totally different kinds of books because I'm like, I don't know, was that book written for adults? Maybe I don't want to read it. Like, is that really sad? So I feel like the hurts that my characters face are very different from the hurts that your characters like to face. Although my second favorite literary.
Look, I've had plenty of detention in my life, so I can probably relate with a lot of your characters.
Okay, true. Well, and my second favorite literary character, he had a lot of detention too, but Soda Pop Curtis, don't ask me why I love him so much, except maybe I do kind of see him as young Rob Lowe. So that might sort of float him up above Inigo Montoya just for that very reason, but they're kind of interchangeable. Number 1 is Mr. Toad. Number 4 is Bridget Jones. Number 5 is Mr. Darcy, the original Mr. Darcy, not the Mr. Darcy from Bridget Jones, not to be confused. Although played by the same man, so we can say that. No redheads in my top 5. Also up there, Timmy Failure, Ramona Quimby, Fudge Hatcher. So
Fudge Hatcher from Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing?
Tales from a Fourth Grade Nothing.
Judy Blume could have come to Thanksgiving at my house anytime.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Super Fudge. Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, Peter Hatcher. I know you were the main character of that story, but you were not the star. It was Fudge.
100% Fudge.
Charlie
Eat it or wear it.
Hatcher.
Eat it or wear it.
Eat it
That's all I'm gonna say.
wear it. We were just telling that story, and somebody said that to one of the girls, and they were nervous because they remembered from that book what we were talking about. And Mama was like, "No, I'm not really going to make you wear it."
Oh, you're going to the bathroom and you're going to get in the tub and you're wearing this cereal. And while Abby and I nerd out about Judy Blume books, you just leave us alone and it'll be okay. Anyway, yes, I was a Fenton frequent flyer. Huh?
I need to know your top 5.
I don't know. I don't sit and obsess like you do, Abby.
I do obsess.
Yeah.
Don't say any characters from Lord of the Rings because Doug won't get it when he watches the replay. He won't know who we're talking about. So.
Well, I can't say any Brandon Sanderson characters because Doug hasn't read any of those.
Oh, okay. That is a great redhead to put on the list.
Yes. Anne Shirley is a great character.
Also, love this one.
Elizabeth Bennet's a great character. Yes. Lewis Gillies is my favorite. He is the main protagonist in The Song of Albion, my all-time favorite book series. I make no bones about it, say it all the time. Lewis is a Celtic studies student from America who is attending classes in Oxford, and through a series of events winds up in Scotland, visiting a cairn where strange things are happening, and he winds up going through a portal in the cairn and winding up in the Celtic otherworld. So it's 3 books of him, this weird American kid who's a nerd, skinny, kind of, thing, and he becomes this Celtic warrior. And then the
awesome. The
it's amazing.
We all wish we could go through, right?
Amazing. And I read this book when I was, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, something like that. So
you still believed that could really happen to you?
Yes. Okay. And I was at the time in my life where I was completely lost and all that. And it affected me profoundly. I was just at the right age, right time, all of that. So, The Song of Albion by Stephen Lawhead was the author. Anyway,
poll. You keep talking. I'm going to figure out how to put a poll up.
Okay.
I have a question.
It's under, is it media assets or widgets? Widgets. Yeah, widgets.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry. Little inside baseball there. So Lewis Gillies, let's see. Neil Gaiman's book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and I know Gaiman is kind of out of polite company these days, and I can't remember the character's name, but the main protagonist from that book, I really loved and connected with. Evelyn, no. Why am I drawing blank today? Because you put me on the spot.
I did put you on the spot. Because your second favorite all-time literary character, you couldn't even come up with their name, Hank. I feel like
I know.
Back to the drawing board.
Golly. Addie LaRue. From The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. Mm-hmm. That something about that character. It was another one of those that it was just the right book at just the right time. 2 or 3 years ago maybe 3 years ago when I read it. And it's about this character who is trapped in her own life and makes a deal. I mean, like one of the opening lines of the book is, "You don't pray to the gods who answer after dark." And it's just kind of, it just sets this creepy vibe just right off the, and she's forced into a marriage, it's 300 or 400 years ago in the French provincial, village. And she's been forced into a marriage, and she runs down to the river and she prays to whomever will answer, and someone answers. And then she's cursed to live the rest of it, to never die, but forced to only know people for one day. So, and as soon as the day flips over, no one remembers her. So imagine going through life, never being able to die and never being remembered. And I don't know, I think I had just turned 50 and was starting to have grandkids. And this weird thing, you start thinking about legacy. And I know that's like such a high-minded thing to think about, but you start thinking about how people will remember you. And it just, I don't know, it hit me so deeply that the thing that you want most out of life is to be remembered and to have affected someone.
Would that have hit you as hard if you had read it when you were 18 instead of?
I don't know. I don't think it would, because I don't think I could have connected with it in the way that character connected with it. And, Yeah, I don't know. It just like I said, right book at the right time, right character, and it just and I'm sure Vicky Schwab who wrote it. I don't think she and I have anything in common in
Yeah.
life.
But
I mean,
that's universal.
but that's universal, and it's like I don't know, and I'm sure she didn't have a middle aged grandfather in mind when she wrote the book, but
But that actually connects back even to like the poll that I have going down here. Because one of the really powerful things that I think I learned from Jenny when I was writing my first book was that you can be universal by being super specific.
yeah,
Like you have to really drill down into what that character is and wants and does and how they're hurt and how they're changing. And by doing that, you're going to speak to more than just your audience. And Harry Potter was the example that she used with me because, we were trying to figure out who my main character was, and were they 12 or were they 13? And that's like splitting hairs when you're talking about an adult book. Were they 36 or 37? Who the hell cares? That's
right,
the same when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old, they can be wildly different,
wildly different. Yeah,
right? So, like, all right, and I put this here because of Harry Potter, and I am so glad everyone who answered the way that they did, because I will die on this hill. Harry Potter is not what makes that series great. That main character, he's like vanilla. I think he's vanilla. I don't think he's that awesome. I think Snape is fantastic. Sirius Black, also awesome.
right. Which kind of brings up a question. Name a beloved protagonist you actively disliked and a villain that you couldn't help rooting for. What's like that's such a subversive thing and probably goes against the author's original intent. I don't think J.K. Rowling meant to write a protagonist that people were kind of meh on, but I 100% think that she meant to create a world full of people that because
I adored Snape from book one.
that's
I
awesome.
mean, it's weird, but I loved him from book one.
And people will to this day, like you can meet people and they're like, I'm a Hufflepuff, and you're like,
We
okay.
might have canceled the author, but that book lives on.
The world lives on. Like
Yeah.
like people want to inhabit that world. And maybe that's a but that world is because of the characters that live there.
What did I do?
I am yelling, Carl.
I did something. I am yelling, Carl. Not my favorite book, but I did like Princess Donut. So I will leave it there. I did like the animal character. I was trying to type for Shannon. Neville did have a toad. I did love that. Neville has a toad. Oh, Neville is not a villain. I did like Snape. I'm trying to think of what other villains that I really liked. You know what? And it's not a book, but I did love Megamind as both a hero and a villain.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was such a great movie. But I'm trying to think of other villains.
Brooke brings up, I couldn't stand the main character and the girl with the dragon tattoo. Yeah. And that is a great example of a character who kind of defined a series and at the same time you actively disliked. And so maybe here's a question. Is it that is it that you necessarily have to like a character or just feel viscerally about? Like, is it okay to have a negative character if you what's the words I'm looking for? The that you feel so emotionally attached to, even if it's in a negative way. Like, is that valid?
Well, yeah, if you keep turning pages.
Right.
I mean,
Because
you're
you
doing.
gotta know what this stupid person does next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the characters that I can't stand, like personally, would be anyone who was kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like, I love a good character that is wrong, but they are going to be so wrong. Like, they are going to stand behind that wrongness if it kills them, sort of thing. I love a stubborn character, a
Yeah.
selfish character.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what this says about me.
Well, I kind of do too. I like I said, there's a couple of books, a couple of types of books that I really like. I like aspirational. I want someone that wants to be better than I think I am. But there's also, I want to see someone behave in ways that are not polite,
Socially
like
acceptable.
not socially acceptable, things that you just couldn't get away with because you're a decent person, but you kind of want to watch it. I mean, it's like that train wreck TV series that
Yeah.
like I'm gonna tune in. I've got to see how this ends because these are horrible people, and I don't want to invite them over for dinner, but I totally want to watch. It's this
I mean,
voyeuristic thing.
again, it's not a book, but Schitt's Creek, the entire
I
cast of
still
Schitt's
haven't
Creek,
watched that.
Seinfeld, they are
Mm,
terrible
they,
people.
they are. They are. Yeah. And you're like, man, I don't want to be any of these people, but I kind of want to be in their living room.
I kind of want to be friends with Cosmo Kramer.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So when you read a book, and then by extension, when you write a book, how much of a character backstory do you want delivered to you in the beginning? Like
Mm.
how much do you want the author to kind of preload this character for you, or do you want to unravel them as you read and understand them more as they like how
I'm going to give you a hot take.
okay, please.
If you hit me with a bunch of character backstory, I'm probably going to stop reading because
Yeah,
I just don't care.
same.
I
Yeah.
don't care enough about them yet to care about their background.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind
kind of
of like
need I
when you,
need to see them in something
yeah,
to
like
want to know more about them.
if you meet someone for the first time and they all of a sudden just unload, like, when I was little, I did this, and then I lived here, and I did this and that, and you're like, oh my God, my eyes are glazing over.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, let me experience life with you just a little bit, and then I'll ask you about what you did in third grade.
Isn't that kind of the premise behind the whole save the cat method, is that the whole thing stems from,
Yeah.
if you're writing a story, people are not connecting with the character, stick a cat in a tree, have your protagonist rescue the cat, save the cat, literally, and then the view, because it originally started from movies, so then the viewer will feel connected to that character because they've done something heroic, and then they will become invested in the character. I
Mhm.
mean, isn't that kind of where it started from?
I think so, yeah.
So you do something for me as the reader, then I want to know about you. I don't tell me all about you and then save the cat. Save the cat first so that I can determine if I want to be your friend or not.
Oh, I like what Steph is saying. The only minor exception is if it's a funny trauma dump. I always love a funny trauma dump.
Funny trauma dump it might be the phrase of the day.
Oh my gosh. It takes excellent writing to make people enjoy watching a show or reading a book about horrible people. It sure
Yeah.
does.
Do you remember the movie? Maybe it was early to mid 90s. I think it was called Falling Down. Gosh,
Let me look it up.
was it Michael Douglas?
It's 1993.
Okay, 90. Okay. Is it Michael Douglas?
It is Michael Douglas.
Okay. And he was just a businessman. I don't remember the initial setup.
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall. Really?
Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall.
I'm a huge Bobby Duvall fan, and I didn't remember he was. It's been 30 years since I've seen the movie, probably, but it made an indelible impression because the Michael Douglas's character. I don't even remember what the setup was, but he like goes to work. Maybe he gets fired. I don't remember. If anybody's seen it, correct me. Whatever. But something bad happens, and he just snaps. He just goes off, and he just like starts wandering through town, just like doing horrible things to sometimes he got laid off. Thank you.
I'm just standing up for my rights as a consumer. I'm rolling prices back to 1965.
He just goes off, and there's a sense that you know better than to be him, but everyone has sat in traffic or had some interaction with some snotty nosed person at a store or something, and you just want to, but of course you would never do it. But watching someone do the things that you know are not socially acceptable, and because we're good citizens, we would never do that. We love our neighbor, and you can't do that. But there's something interesting about watching the wheels come off the cart.
I'm putting something in the chat.
Please make Doug watch it.
Hold on. I can't spell anything, so it's full of typos, but there's my response. Shame Doug publicly in the community. We will back you up.
Wait. Are we talking about Falling Down? Doug has never seen Falling Down? I mean, I don't doubt that.
I don't doubt it either. I probably saw it once upon a time, and it wasn't a rom-com, so it didn't really stick in my brain, but
I'm convinced that Doug has only read 2 books in his life, and they're both vampire rom-coms.
I thought you were going to say they're both his.
I don't know. Tell him I said that. Well, let's see if we can get some beef going. Yeah. But yes, Bon, that movie was so impactful, and maybe for all the wrong reasons, but it's been 30 years since I've seen that movie, and I still there are scenes that still replay in my mind, and I don't have all the details right. That's the entire point of our conversation, is that you don't remember the details, the little plot specifics, but you remember the character, and you remember why he feels the way he does, and it connects to a thing that we've all felt, and we just won't take that step too far. But he just jumped in with both feet and just went nuts, and we kind of want to watch somebody go nuts sometimes. It's cathartic, and then we can walk out of the movie theater, and we can sit in traffic, and somebody can cut us off, and we're just like, okay, I feel better now because Michael Douglas handled that for me, and he became he became the worst version of me, so I don't have to.
Okay, question for you. Are you a rereader?
Yes.
You are a rereader? Because I am not.
Not always, but there are things that I will reread over and over again. So Song of Albion, I reread Song of Albion at least every 2 years, and I have since the early 90s. I've reread Addie LaRue 3 or 4 times, probably in 5 years. Yeah, that's it. When I finished it, I literally took a week off and reread it again from the beginning. And I still struggle to figure out why it impacted me as deeply as it did, but it just did. And I just wanted to be with that character. It's very strange. I can't explain it all the way. Let's see. I've reread Lord of the Rings a couple of times, but then you had the whole movie franchise that happened, and I watched and rewatched those a couple of times, so that kind of counts.
They kind of blend together once there's a movie and a book version, and if I've seen the movie version and read the book version a couple times, I have a hard time remembering where what peace was. So like
Yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle was like that for me. I read the book. I read it, I think, twice, and I'm not a
Yeah.
rereader, but I've seen the movie like a gazillion times, and I can't tell you. Wizard Howl actually does make my top 10 list, and he's a terrible character too. So
Bon says that she rereads Discworld stuff all the time. I'm a big Discworld fan. I don't have all of the books, but I've got a fair number of them. And I've not read through the entire series because there's like 570 of them. Not really, but there's a bunch. And Terry Pratchett is one of those authors that I know. You ever have a book hangover? Like you finish reading something and you just nothing else catches your attention. And if I'm having one of those times, I'll pick up a Discworld book, one of them that I haven't read, and usually I can drop right into it and just have a good time with it. I've reread some of the Dresden Files a few times. What else? There was something else I was going to say and I forgot. He's a closet Twilight fanfic. So bad, Brooke. I love it. I don't know what I was going to say now. It'll come to me in a minute.
You're distracted by Twilight.
I was.
Have you read Twilight?
I've not read Twilight. I did watch the movies because when they were coming out, my daughters were teenagers in school. So Dawn and I watched the first one with them. I was expecting like horror movie. I wasn't expecting sparkly vampires, I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not it. And yeah, so anyway, I have 3 daughters, so I get roped into a lot of stuff. I do shimmer in the sunlight. I do. That is true.
So do you have a tip?
Yeah.
Because I have a tip for this. Do you have a tip if you're really struggling with a character? Okay. Do you have a tip for how to connect with them or what you can do to make a character more real? Or if you don't know a character that would fit in this story, like have you ever started to write a story and you kind of had a premise and a world, but you didn't necessarily have a character for it yet? Because I've had that happen.
Yes. Here's a weird thing about me. I almost have to feel connected with a character, and every writer writes themselves into their story somewhere. People that will lie and say, "Oh no, they're 100% lying." Everybody writes themselves, but I almost feel like that if I'm writing a book, it needs to be something that I can personally connect with. Maybe it's something I'm struggling with, or just something I'm thinking about, something that's matters to me on some level. And it's almost like an exercise of kind of working through that a lot of times. And sometimes I'll have an idea for a book and I'll make notes in my Dabble project, but I'll have to come back to it because I don't feel like I connect with that character yet. And I know that's not a great answer. But for me, it's finding some way that when I'm writing a character, is finding a way that I can connect with that character because we have a similar struggle or a similar want or a similar block that's keeping me from doing the thing I want to do or keeping me from having the thing or whatever. But I kind of have to feel personally connected to that character in some way. And I've got a million projects that I have ideas for. And sometimes I just kind of have to bounce through those and find one that I can feel like, okay, I understand this character now, or, I understand them enough to write the thing. So
I must write very similar characters over and over because I guess it was last summer, at the beginning of last summer, at some point, I outlined a supernatural mystery.
Okay.
And I had a cast of characters, and I generally will write kind of a large cast of characters. Mm-hmm. I had my cast of characters, and they were all weird in some way, shape, or form. And I kind of put that book on hold. We wrote 50, 60 pages and something wasn't clicking, and I kind of put it to the side. And when I circled back around to the book that Jeff and I had written together, I realized I was just rewriting that same cast of characters with different names. And I was like, oh, I think that was like my way of telling myself I needed to finish this book because they were there and they weren't going to let me go until I finished something that had to do with them. And I was like, oh, that kind of bothered me. But I loved a trick that Michelle Hazen taught me a million years ago.
Yeah.
She said, if you're struggling with character or dialogue or any version of craft, she always turned to fan fiction and would use fan fiction as a way to learn an element. And I kind of took that and inserted it a different way into my own writing. So if I ever have a character that I'm not 100% sure who this person is, I pretend like it's a character I already know. And I will write the manuscript with that other character in it. And eventually that character will morph and change into something that's original. That's my own character. But like I wrote, I think like 3 or 4 drafts of a book where like freaking Scooby-Doo is a character in the book because I didn't know what else to put in there. And so Scooby-Doo ended up morphing into Moxie, Scientist Cat. And it was the purple cat that ended up being in the title of the book that I pitched to the agents. So it was Pirate Rats, Purple Cats, and Other Weird Problems was the story. But I mean, I wrote drafts with freaking Scooby-Doo in there because I knew I needed somebody goofy that didn't take a lot of stuff seriously and that was going to make my problem worse. I also knew I wanted it to be a talking animal. So I had these pieces that Scooby-Doo fit. I just needed to make Scooby-Doo my own. And so that was what I did. Anyway.
It's so funny that you talk about the large cast of characters and that you started recycling a cast. You know, I've talked before about that. A lot of the books that I write are very close, they're very close focus, a lot of like, person to person interaction. I mean, Crossroad Blues was a book that was 95,000 words and 98% of the book takes place in the cab of a pickup truck with 2 characters just talking to each other, just talking.
Oh my God, Hank.
It's like 90,000 words of 2 people just talking back and forth. But through their conversations, there are flashbacks that involve other characters and all that. But,
what does this say about us? If a psychologist is going to like come in and read our books, do you think they'd be able to like analyze us?
Right. Brooks, awful. Thanks, Brooke. You know what? In your 600 books, Brooke, you can write any size cast of characters you want. Oh man. So next Monday, we're going to talk about characters and how you come up with these things and how you anchor, how do you develop characters that people want to invite over for Thanksgiving? And so I've learned a lot from just sitting down and putting my thoughts together.
I would invite Mr. Toad to Thanksgiving, but I've written scenes where Mr. Toad danced on the table in one of my books. So maybe not everyone wants to invite him to Thanksgiving, but I do.
Stranger things have happened. That's all I'm going to say. What are you writing right now, Abby?
It's funny you ask because I have been thinking about characters for the last week. I am outlining a YA rom-com. Now I have outlined 3 different YA rom-coms. This is my 4th YA rom-com. I have not written the other 3 books because I was like, Do I want to go down the YA rabbit hole? Guess what? I totally want to go down the YA rabbit hole because now I have 2 children who are going to be in high school next year. And I'm like, I'm going to be surrounded by YA people. I need to just embrace it. I taught high school for years too. So I'm writing a YA rom-com. And I told my husband that the male love interest was going to get parts of him baked in. And he was like, oh, I've never made one of your books before. So he's going to play guitar, just like my husband. And he's going to like the same music that my husband likes. So there we go.
I remembered because you were talking about your husband, that reminded me of the comment that I was going to make earlier that I couldn't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Dawn and I watched the finale of Outlander a week, 2 weeks ago, whatever the series finale, it finally wrapped up. And we started rewatching Outlander from season 1. And so much happened that we completely forgot. That you start, and this just reiterates what we've already said. You don't remember what happened necessarily, but you remember how the characters grow and the experiences or how they handle the experiences they had, not necessarily the plot, because we're rewatching this and we're looking for Easter eggs, as kind of, that things that you didn't know that you knew because you didn't know to know it until the end, and then and it's yeah, I have the series of Outlander books in my office too, on the shelf behind me, Brooke. And yeah, so rewatching that, and also comparing it to the books, that's a whole different conversation. But Diana Gabaldon has a husband that she based Jamie Fraser on. And yeah, he's a large red-haired Scot, or of Scottish descent. And I don't think he has a brogue or anything, but that made me, when you started talking about writing Sean into a book, that reminded me, oh, that's what I couldn't remember.
Sean is also a redhead of Scottish descent. So
aren't they all? I don't know.
You would think. We actually just DNA tested Sean, and he's more Irish than Scottish. He had thought he was going to be more Scottish than Irish, but it was the other way around. So,
interesting. Well, as you can tell by my red hair, I am Scottish and Irish.
Well, that takes us to the top of the hour again.
I know. So be sure to join us next Monday. I'm actively working on the workshop so that it can be just right. And it will be next Monday, or this coming Monday, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Standard Podcast time. And we'll dig into this together. I will have handouts, workbooks that you can work along. And there are 3 segments where I've got the 5-minute timer, that there will be exercises that we'll do together. And I'll have handouts that you can download and work on your own. And it's going to be a fun time. Are the slides ready? Yes, I'm actually looking at the slides on my other monitor over here.
Are the slides going to show up on the screen? I think is what she really wants to know.
Oh, I got the subtle dig. I did. And
he's been practicing, Brooke, because he showed me screenshots.
Hold on a second.
He's going to do it.
Yeah, here they are. Here's slides, just so you can see. They're real. So, anyway.
We take a joke, so.
That's right. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, here by the fire. And yeah, we'll see you Monday. And Abby, you had coffee hour today. So Doug has writing sprints tomorrow over at dabbleu.com. We've moved them off our YouTube channel, and they're over at W, and fun to be had by all. But we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.